Sun warm on his shoulders, water cool under the hull. Halfway back he saw it, a small white envelope. Tucked under the bench cushion, he hadn't put it there. He paddled the last few feet, climbed onto the dock, opened it, no letterhead, just 2 sentences. Typed on plain paper, "You were right to stand your ground. Not all of us agree with how things are run." A neighbor, no name, no signature, just truth. He folded it carefully, put it in his pocket. That evening, he made grilled trout, the kind with lemon and dill, the way his wife used to fix it. His daughter stayed for dinner. They ate on the porch, watching the fireflies rise like tiny lanterns over the grass after dishes. She sat beside him on the steps. "You know," she said, "this could still go sideways. They could appeal. Hire a tougher lawyer. Drag it out, I know. But you're okay with that?" He looked at her really. Looked. Saw the worry under the calm. "I spent 30 years working jobs where I had to ask permission to take a bathroom break," he said. "Then 10 more where I watched good people get pushed around because they were too tired, too scared, or too polite to say no." He paused. "I'm not tired. I'm not scared. And I learned a long time ago politeness only works when both sides have it," she smiled. "You're stubborn." "Nah," he said. "Just clear." He sat for a while then. Just as the first stars came out, tires on gravel. A county sheriff's cruiser, not flashing lights. Just pulled in slow, parked behind his daughter's car. 2 deputies got out. Not young rookies. Veterans. One with a salt and pepper mustache. The other with a calm, steady walk and a name tag that read Ruiz. They approached the porch. "Evening," Deputy Ruiz said. "Hope we're not interrupting." "Not at all," he said, standing. "Can I offer you something cold?" "No, thank you, sir. We're fine." Ruiz glanced at his partner, then back. "We're following up on a report that came in yesterday regarding an alleged unauthorized barrier on private property." His daughter's eyes flicked to him. "They're here for us?" Ruiz smiled slightly. "Relax. We're not here to cite anyone yet. We got a copy of the audio recording from the county attorney's office. And your daughter's formal complaint." He nodded. "Okay." Ruiz stepped onto the porch. Looked out toward the dock where nothing stood now but wood and water. "So it's gone," said double quotes. "Yes, they took it down this morning voluntarily." "Yes," Ruiz nodded. Thoughtful. "My partner and I, we grew up near water. Know what docks mean out here. Not just for fishing or swimming, for quiet. For remembering. For breathing." He didn't say anything. Just let that sit. Then Ruiz turned to him. "I ran your deed and permit through the system this morning. Cross-checked with county zoning, state HOA code, even the environmental compliance logs. Everything checks out. Your dock is lawful. Always was." Pause. "And just so we're clear for the record, and for anyone who might get ideas later installing a physical barrier on private property without a court order, that's not HOA enforcement. That's trespass. Under Georgia law, it's a misdemeanor. Could even be coercion if intent to intimidate is proven." He didn't sound angry, just firm, like a teacher stating a fact. "If it happens again," Ruiz added, "you call us directly. Not 911. My desk line. I'll handle it personally." He handed over a card, plain white. Just a name, badge number, and phone. No threats, no drama, just backup. Ruiz tipped his hat. "Enjoy your evening."
They left.
His daughter let out a breath she'd been holding. He looked at the card, then tucked it into his wallet. Right beside the folded note from the neighbor that night. He didn't sit on the dock. He walked down to the water's edge. Stood where the gate had been. Looked out. The lake was black. But a liver pulse, catching starlight, frogs singing, an owl calling from the woods. He reached into his pocket, pulled out the smooth gray stone, held it for a moment, then, gently, tossed it into the water. Plink, a small sound, a small ripple, spreading outward. He'd slept surprisingly well. Woke once around 2 a.m., checked the backyard out the kitchen window. It's nothing but moonlight, and the silhouette of the dock butt went right back under the covers. Strange that. Usually, trouble like this kept him up, mind spinning through what-ifs. But not this time. Maybe it was the judge's visit. Maybe it was his daughter's quiet certainty. Or maybe, after 62 years on this earth, he'd finally learned the difference between worry and waiting. He'd found required less energy around 7:30. His daughter arrived, not in a rush. Just pulling in, like any other Saturday, thermos in hand. Wearing her gardening jeans and a faded ball cap. Brought coffee, she said, handing him a fresh mug. Strong, with the good sugar? He smiled. You remembered some things stick. She sat on the bench beside him, stretching her legs out. Looked at the open gate. They left it like this? Yep, didn't he touch it? No note? No call. Nope. They sat in silence for a few minutes, watching a great blue heron stalk the shallows near the neighbor's lot, patient, deliberate, lifting one foot at a time like it had all the time in the world. Then a sound. Not a car. A golf cart. One of those quiet electric ones the association used for patrols. Maintenance runs, the odd community event. White, with the LSPOA Wave and Shield logo on the side. Rolling slowly down the service road that ran behind the lakefront lots, it stopped at the edge of his driveway, too. People got out. One he recognized, Lonar, though she'd swapped her pearls for a polo shirt and khakis like she was trying to blend in. The other was new. Older man. Late 60s. Sharp eyes, neat white hair, wearing a button-down shirt tucked in depressed slacks. No name tag. But he carried himself like someone used to being listened to. They walked down the path together. No hurry. Eleanor didn't look angry this time. She looked. Careful, when they reached the gate, she stopped. The man stepped slightly ahead. Morning, he said. Voice warm, like a teacher greeting a student he liked but hadn't seen in a while. I'm Robert Langston. I serve on the LSPOA board, though not on the architectural committee, I should clarify. He nodded. Morning. Robert smiled, genuine, not practiced. Mind if we join you for a minute? We'd like to talk. No agenda, just talk. His daughter glanced at him. A silent question. He gave a small nod. Robert stepped through the gate. Didn't he touch it? Just passed through like it wasn't there. Eleanor followed, arms loosely at her sides. They didn't sit. Just stood near the bench, Robert with his hands clasped behind his back. Eleanor watching the water. I've lived here 34 years, Robert said, gaze sweeping the cove. Watched this neighborhood grow. Saw docks go up, trees fall in storms. Kids learn to swim right where we're standing. This place, it means something. He didn't respond. Just waited. Robert turned to him. I read your file last night. Deed, permit everything. You did everything right. Back in 05, you followed the rules as they were. You even got the extra variance for the handrail height because of your wife's balance issues. I remember that meeting. You brought the doctor's note? Spoke quietly. Didn't demand? Just asked. He blinked. He hadn't expected that. Most people wouldn't remember that, he said. I do, Robert said. Because decency stands out. Especially in meetings. Pause. Then Eleanor spoke quietly. No defensiveness. Just tired. The committee didn't see the full file. Not at first. The digital archive had a glitch. Your permit didn't pull up in the initial search. They only saw the current setback rule and the aerial image. He looked at her. A glitch? She nodded. We found it yesterday afternoon. Fixed it. But by then, the barrier was up. No excuses. Just facts. Robert stepped in. We made a mistake. A serious one. Not malicious, but serious. And it's on us to fix it. His daughter shifted. Not skeptical. Just waiting for the catch. Robert saw it. I know what you're thinking, he said. Here comes the pivot. The fine print. The but. There is no but. Not today. We're here to ask what would make this right. Silence. Real silence. Not the kind that's heavy with tension, but the kind that comes when someone says something you didn't think you'd ever hear. He looked at the dock, at the wood he'd sanded smooth with his own hands, at the spot where his granddaughter had dropped her first fishing line and screamed. When she actually caught something, then he looked at Eleanor. "You could start," he said slowly, "by taking that fence down." Eleanor didn't flinch. "We can have it removed by noon." "No charge to me?" "No charge. Les Poa covers it." "And the complaints you mentioned?" She hesitated just a second. "There were no formal complaints," she admitted. "One email from a new owner on the next cove asking in general about dock rules. The committee interpreted it as concern. They overreacted. He let that sit. Then, and the work order. The security call? The threats of enforcement," Robert answered. "I've suspended the chair of the architectural committee pending a full review. The contractor's contract is under reassessment. And Davis, the security lead, he filed a formal incident report. Voluntarily, said the directive exceeded his scope and violated his ethics policy. A small, quiet victory. He took a breath. "You know," he said, "I didn't want to fight. I just wanted to sit out here, watch the water, remember things." Robert nodded. "We forgot what this place is for. We got so focused on the rules, we lost the reason." Alina looked at him, really looked. "I'm sorry," she said, and it sounded like she meant it. He believed her, not because she said it, because she stood there. In the morning light, with no backup, no script, no deflection, and owned it. That meant more than an apology. That meant change was possible. He nodded. "Okay, just that." "Okay," Robert smiled, not big. "Just enough. We'll have the crew here by 9. They'll take it down carefully. Leave the grass tidy. And I'd like to invite you to the next board meeting. Not as a respondent. As a voice, we need people who remember why we built this place in the first place." He didn't say yes, didn't say no, just, "I'll think about it." Robert extended his hand. He shook. It firm, respectful. Eleanor offered hers too. He took. It dumbed, then they walked back to the golf cart. No fanfare, no promises beyond what they'd said, just two people, trying to mend something before it tore all the way. Through, he sat back down. His daughter let out a long breath. "Well, that was unexpected?" "Yeah. You believe them?" "I believe him," he said. "And I think she wants to believe herself." She nodded. Sipped her coffee. 10 minutes later, a different truck arrived. Not white. Not L's POA-branded local landscaping company harbor grounds. Name painted on the side in simple green letters. 2 guys got out, both in their 30s, one with a faded marine tattoo on his forearm. They walked up, polite. "Morning. We're here to remove the barrier. LSPOA work order priority 1. "Go ahead," he said. They didn't waste time. No small talk. Just gotta work. Used hand tools, no pounding, no loud drills. Carefully unbolted each panel. Lifted the posts straight up, shaking loose the concrete footings without tearing the grass. Rolled up the chain link like a rug. Loaded it into the truck bed with quiet efficiency. One of them paused near the end. "Used to fish off this dock when I was a kid," said, brushing dirt off his hands. "My uncle lived 2 doors down. You let us use your net when we caught that big bass, remember? 12, maybe?" He looked at him, narrowed his eyes. "Then yes, the red-danned white bobber. The way the line sang as it peeled off the reel, you were the one who dropped the pliers in the water." The young man grinned. "And you said, 'Fish got enough to worry about. Don't weigh him down with tools.'" They both laughed. A real laugh. The kind that loosens something tight in your chest. By 10:15, it was gone. No trace. Just the dock, the path, the stepping stones, and the bench still holding the dent where he always sat. The crew cleaned up their mess, thanked him, and drove off. He walked down to the spot where the gate had been. No holes. No scars. Just a few flattened blades of grass. It's already springing back. like it had never happened. Almost he turned and saw the cars. Not many. Just 3. His neighbor the judge parked across the street, reading the paper in his driveway, but glancing over every few seconds. Mrs. Henderson, walking her little dog, slowed as she passed, gave a small wave, and at the end of the cove, the Johnsons were out on their deck, 2 chairs pulled close, coffee mugs in hand, facing his dock like they were waiting for the next act. He realized they'd been watching, not out of gossip, out of hope, that morning. He didn't go back inside. He stayed on the dock, read the paper, drank a second cup, listened to the water. Around noon, his daughter came out with sandwiches, turkey, mustard, right the way he liked them. They ate in comfortable silence. Then she said, "The real estate commission acknowledged receipt of the complaint. Said they'll open a file. Standard procedure. Could take weeks." He nodded, but she added, "I also got a call from the county attorney's office. Someone there saw the recording. I sent just the audio, no video from yesterday. The part where Davis said he wouldn't enforce without a court order." He looked up. "And they want to talk about how LSPOA uses private security for enforcement. Turns out there's been other incidents. Not here, but in neighboring counties. Same contractor. Same tactics." He didn't say anything, just looked at the water. Later that afternoon, he took his kayak out, not far, just around the little cove, past the bend where the lilies bloomed thick in summer. Paddled slow. Let the rhythm settle him. Not fast, not angry, just purposeful. He stepped up to the latch. The contractors paused. Eleanor turned. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Removing an illegal obstruction," he said. He lifted the latch. Simple spring mechanism. No lock yet, just a hook and eye. The gate swung open. He stepped through, into his own space. The contractors started forward. "Sir." "Stop," one began. His daughter stepped into their path, not blocking, just their hand resting lightly on the open gate. "Let's be very clear," she said, voice calm, loud enough for everyone to hear. "No one has entered this property unlawfully. No one has damaged anything. My father is accessing his own DACA structure he built, owns, and has used lawfully for 2 decades. If you attempt to physically stop him, you will be committing trespass and unlawful restraint. I'm recording this interaction for my own protection." She didn't raise her voice, didn't gesture, just stood. The contractor with the drill looked at Eleanor. She stood very still. The moment stretched. Then he stepped onto the dock. Wood creaked softly under his feet, familiar. Solid. He walked to the end, where the bench sat in the shade of a cypress branch. Sat down, didn't look back. Behind him, voices rose, low, urgent. He couldn't make out the words, just the tone, frustration, uncertainty. He picked up a smooth, water-worn stone from the benchy gray river rock his granddaughter had given him years ago. Rolled it in his palm. The lake stretched out before him, calm, endless. A kingfisher darted past, wings a blue blur. He heard footsteps on the dock. His daughter joined him. She sat beside him, didn't speak. After a minute, she said, "They called security. Private security. They said they'd be here in 5. He nodded. Looked at the stone. "You think they'll try to pull me off?" "No," she said. "Not unless they want to explain to a judge why they dragged a 62-year-old man off his own dock in front of 6 neighbors who are already filming." He turned. Sure enough, lights glinted from porches. Phone raised near the Johnsons' azaleas. Someone on a riding mower had stopped mid-lawn. Watching. Word traveled fast in places like this. Minutes passed. A black SUV with tinted windows pulled slowly into the driveway. No lights. No siren. Just rolled to a stop behind Eleanor's sedan. A man got out, late 40s, broad shoulders, navy polo with a tiny embroidered badge. Sentinel security. He walked with the easy confidence of someone who'd worn a uniform before, military, maybe, or police, not arrogant, or just aware. He nodded to Eleanor, listened as she spoke quickly, gesturing toward the dock. Then he walked down the path alone, stopped at the open gate, looked at his daughter. "Afternoon," he said. "I'm Davis. I handle community safety for LSPO. "Hi," she said. We're not causing a disturbance. My father is sitting on his dock. Davis nodded. Understood. But there's a barrier in place. Installed under board authority. Till that's legally challenged, it's considered a valid association directive. With respect, she said, association directives don't override property rights. Georgia law is clear. An HOA can't physically block access to private property without a court order. That's OCGA section 443232. And criminal trespasses, section the 21st of July 16. If you try to remove him without legal authority, Davis didn't react. Just studied her for a long moment. Then he turned and called over his shoulder quietly, but they could hear. Eleanor, can I speak with you for a second? They walked a few yards away, heads close. His daughter leaned back. He's not one of theirs, she murmured. He's listening. Sure enough, after a minute, Davis came back alone. He stood at the gate. My job is to prevent escalation, he said, not enforce architectural disputes. If no one's threatening anyone, no one's damaging property, I'm not pulling anyone off a dock. Eleanor's voice cut in, sharp. Davis, he held up a hand, didn't turn. Just kept looking at them. Ma'am, he said, if you want enforcement, you need a court order. I can't be the muscle for a civil disagreement. So that's not what I signed up for. Eleanor went very still. Then she turned on her heel and walked back to her car. The contractors exchanged. Looks Davis's side. Gentlemen, pack it up, we're done here. But the work order one started. Work order just changed, Davis said. Come on, they didn't argue. Just started loading the extra panels back into the truck. Efficient, quiet. Davis lingered. After a moment, he stepped onto the dock not far. Just past the gates, sir, he said. I served 22 years in the Army. Saw a lot of good people pushed around by bureaucracy that forgot why it existed. He paused. You built this yourself? Yes. Respect. Then he nodded once and walked back. The SUV left first, then the pickup, then Eleanor's sedan, windows up, no glance back. Silence returned. But it was different now. Lighter. Like a weight had been lifted. Not gone. But no longer pressing down. A neighbor waved from across the cove, old man Peterson, on his own dock, holding a cold drink. Thumbs up. He smiled. Small but real. His daughter took out the voice recorder. Press stop. You okay? She asked. He looked around at the dock, the water, the open gate. Yeah, he said. I'm okay. But they both knew it wasn't over that evening. After grilled chicken and sweet corn on the porch, he went back out to the dock. Sat in the dark. The lake was still. Fireflies blinked in the grass behind him. Frogs called from the reeds. He thought about the day. Not the anger, not the fear. The people. The contractor who hesitated. The security man who chose principle over paycheck. The neighbors who stood on their lawns, phones ready not to mock, but to witness. That meant something. Later, just before bed, his daughter came out with 2 mugs of tea. She sat beside him. I filed a formal complaint with the Georgia Real Estate Commission today, she said. HOAs fall under their oversight when they overstep. Also sent a certified letter to the LSPOA board demanding removal of the barrier. A full copy of the complaints they cited, and minutes from the ARC meeting that targeted Dad's dock. He nodded. What did they say? Nothing yet, but they have 10 days to respond. If they don't tour, if they double down, we file for a temporary restraining order. Freeze everything. He sipped his tea. Chamomile warm, you know, he said. All I wanted was to sit out here with my coffee. Watch the birds, I know. And now. He looked at the chain link, faintly visible in the moonlight. Now it's about more than that. Yeah, she said softly. Sometimes it is. They sat in silence for a long time. Then tires on gravel. A car pulled into the driveway. Not fast, not urgent. A familiar sedan. The retired judge from 3 doors down stepped out. Not in a suit khakis polo shirt, reading glasses hanging on a chain. He walked down the path, hands in his pockets. Evening, he said. Evening, they both said. He looked at the dock. At the barrier. Didn't comment, just stood for a moment, breathing in the lake air. Then heard what happened today, wanted to see for myself. A's daughter handed him the county deed folder. He flipped through it slowly to permit HOA amendment. Nodded. Section 9D is unambiguous, he said. They violated state law and their own governing docs. Bold move. You think they'll back down? She asked. The judge smiled, not a happy smile. A knowing one. People like Eleanor don't back down. They retreat, regroup, come back with new paperwork, new justifications. They believe time is on their side. He looked at him. But you know what's really on your side? What's that? Truth. And a paper trail. And the fact that in this state, property rights still mean something. He closed the folder, handed it back. I've got a friend at the Chronicle, good reporter. Doesn't sensationalize, just tells it straight. If this goes sideways, say the word. I'll make a call. He didn't say thank you. Didn't need to. The judge patted his shoulder. You didn't ask for this fight, but you're handling it like a man who knows the difference between standing your ground and digging a trench. Then he left. The night deepened. His daughter went inside. He stayed. Looked up, stars were out bright, clear. No city glow to wash them out. Just the Milky Way, faint and dusty across the sky. He thought about the dock. Not as wood and nails. As a promise he'd made to himself, to his wife, to the quiet life they'd built here, that some things were worth tending to, worth protecting. Even if it meant standing alone for a little while. Even if it meant waiting for the right moment to speak. He stood up, walked to the edge of the dock, looked down. The water was black but clear near the posts. He could see the old concrete footings, smooth, algae-streaked, solid as the day he poured them. Then a ripple, a fish broke the surface. Small, quick, gone, life. Going on, undisturbed, he smiled, and for the first time all dairily smiled. The next morning he was out early again, same mug, same spot. The chain link still stood, but the latch was open, and the gate swung wide. Like an invitation, the sun rose slow and generous that morning, spilling gold across the water like honey over toast. Mist clung to the far shore, soft and low, breaking apart in places where a fish jumped or a breeze nudged through the cypress knees. He sat on the dock again, mug in hand, the steam rising in gentle curls. Same routine. But everything felt different now. The gate was still open, no one had come back overnight. No trucks. No warnings. Just the quiet hum of the world waking up birds. Calling a distant outboard motor, the soft slap of water against the pilings. He didn't take it for peace. He took it for pause, like the other side was catching its breath, gathering thoughts. It's maybe waiting for instructions from lawyers who billed by the quarter hour. Hey, Dad. You okay? Saw a van at your place this morning, looked like Lisboa, he told her calmly. Fact by fact. There was a long pause on the other end. Not shocked. Not angry. Just quiet. The kind of quiet that means someone's already thinking 3 steps ahead. Did they leave paperwork? No, said it's coming. Do you still have your deed folder? In my hand. Good, don't touch the barrier. Don't post anything online yet. I'll be there in an hour. I want to see it myself. Said okay. Hung up. Went back to watching the Huron. It finally struck slow. Precison came up with a small sunfish, wriggling. Swallowed it whole. Then lifted off, wings wide and effortless, toward the far side of the cove. He thought, nature doesn't ask permission. It just is. Maybe it was time people remembered that too. The afternoon passed slowly. He watered the geraniums, checked the mailbox, still empty, walked down to the barrier once more, just to look. Not to test it. Not to push. Just to see it, to fix it in his mind, exactly as it stood. 5 feet tall, silver gray metal. 10 panels, maybe 12 feet across. A simple latch, no padlock yet. Posts sunk deep into the ground with concrete anchors. Professional job. Expensive? Who paid for this? He wondered. His dues. His neighbors? It didn't feel like community. It felt like control. Around 4, a car pulled into the driveway. His daughter got out jeans, sneakers, a canvas tote bag slung over her shoulder. She didn't say much at first. Just walked straight to the barrier, knelt, examined the base of one post, ran her fingers along the latch. Then she stood, turned to him. Did they say why they didn't wait for the appeal period? He shook his head. Said it was enforcement. Like I was breaking the law. She opened her bag, pulled out a small digital camera, not her phone. Took 3 photos, the barrier from the front, a close-up of the LSPOA logo on a post cap, and one wide shot showing the dock behind it. The house in the background. County recorder's office closes at 5, she said. We've got 20 minutes. Let's go. He didn't ask why, just nodded. Went inside, grabbed his keys. As they drove down the winding roads of the neighborhood, past manicured lawns, American flags, kids on bikes, he looked out the window. Saw Mrs. Henderson walking her terrier, Mr. Choi washing his pickup, the new family with the twins, setting up a sprinkler in their yard, all of them living under the same rules. All of them. Maybe one day on the wrong side of a clipboard and a chain-link fence. At the county building, she went straight to the records desk, asked for 2 things: the original plat map for Lakeview Shores, Block C, and the filed copy of LSPOAS 2020 Architectural Guidelines Amendment. They sat at a small table near the windows, papers spread out. She pointed to the plat map. See this dashed line? That's your property line confirmed by the 2001 resurvey after the flood. Your dock starts here. She tapped 8 feet 2 inches from it. Well, within the old 5-foot rule. Then she flipped to the HOA amendment. And here Section 9. Subsection D explicitly states, structures in place prior to January 1st, 2020, and in compliance with prior code, shall be exempt from new setback requirements. You're not just grandfathered. You're protected. She looked up at him. Her eyes were calm, but there was fire underneath. This wasn't enforcement, Dad. This was intimidation. And it was illegal. He exhaled. Long and slow. He hadn't realized how much he'd needed to hear that. Not from himself. From someone who knew the law. Who could say it without doubt? They drove back in silence. When they turned onto his street, he saw it before she did. A white pickup was parked at the curb. 2 men in dark shirts, LSPOA logo on the door, and in the bed of the truck, more chain-link panels. They were back. This time, with reinforcements, his daughter slowed the car. Neither of them spoke. She pulled into the driveway, turned off the engine, sat for a moment. Then she reached into her bag, pulled out a small voice recorder, and pressed record. Let's go see what they want, she said. And together, they got out of the car. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the lawn. The dock waited behind it. Fence still there, still his. The air had that golden, honeyed quality. Late afternoons get an early June soft light, long shadows. The kind of quiet that makes you lower your voice without thinking. The kind of quiet that feels sacred. Until it's broken, they stood by the car for just a second, long enough to take it in. The 2 men by the pickup weren't doing anything yet, just leaning against the tailgate, arms crossed, talking low. One held a tablet. The other had a radio clipped to his belt. Neither looked up right away. They knew he was home. They were waiting. His daughter didn't rush. She tucked the voice recorder into her front pockets, small, black, unobtrusive, then adjusted the strap of her bag. A quiet signal. We're not afraid, but we're not careless either. They walked down the driveway side by side. Not shoulder to shoulder, but close. Like teammates entering a room where the other side thinks they've already won. One of the men finally looked over. Mid-50s, salt and pepper stubble, calm eyes. He pushed off the tailgate. Afternoon, he said. Voice low, even. Not unfriendly. Not warm. Afternoon, she said. You're from the association? Contractor. Hired through LSPOA management. We're here to complete the barrier installation. Complete it? His voice came out quiet, but steady. It's already there. The man nodded toward the dock. That's phase 1. Temporary restriction. This is phase 2, Permanent reinforcement and access control.
Access control?
She asked, You mean a lock? Electronic gate. Key fob access. Prevents unauthorized entry while the compliance process is underway.
That's...
He looked past the man to the truck bed. More panels. Thicker posts. A coiled steel cable. A keypad unit in a plastic case. They're turning it into a cage, he said, more to himself than anyone. The contractor didn't flinch. It's standard procedure for high-priority enforcement cases. High priority? She asked. Because a 20-year-old doc is suddenly dangerous? No one said it was dangerous, ma'am. It's about uniformity. Fair application of the rules. She took a half step forward. Not aggressive. Just present. Let's talk about those rules. Section 9D of your 2020 amendment clearly protects existing code compliance structures. My father's dock was permitted in 2005. County records show it met all shoreline ordinances in effect at that time. There's no safety violation. No court order. So what exactly is being enforced? The man glanced at his partner, who gave a tiny shrug call. I don't interpret policy, he said. I follow work orders. Approved by the board? Signed by the president. Did the board provide proof of legal authority to restrict access to private property? A pause. Longer this time, ma'am? I'm not a lawyer. Then maybe you shouldn't be installing locks on someone's home. That landed. The man's jaw tightened just a fraction, but he didn't argue. He just looked at his tablet, tapped something. Work orders active. We proceed unless instructed otherwise by LSPOA management. As if on cue, a silver sedan turned into the driveway. Eleanor Whitmore stepped out. She didn't slam the door, didn't rush. She smoothed her linen blouse, adjusted her sunglasses, and walked toward them with the unhurried pace of someone used to being in charge. Late 50s, silver bob, pearls at her throat. She looked like she belonged at a garden club luncheonette on a patch of grass where tension hung thick as humidity, but her eyes gave it away. Sharp. Alert. Ready? Good afternoon, she said. Voice crisp, like pressed paper. I see we've got an audience. She nodded to the contractors. Go ahead and begin prep. We'll be just a moment. Neither man moved. She turned to him. Smiled. Small. Tight. I wanted to stop by personally. After this morning, I thought a face-to-face might help avoid misunderstandings. He didn't return the smile. You could have called. I did. Twice. No answer. His phone was in the kitchen, unsilent. He didn't say that. She shifted her gaze to his daughter. And you must be the paralegal. I've heard good things. No need to be polite, his daughter said gently. We both know why you're here. Elena's smile didn't waver, but something behind it flickered annoyance. Caution? Then let's be direct. The dock violates current architectural standards. It always has, technically, but the committee chose, for years, to exercise discretion. Unfortunately, recent complaints from adjacent property owners have forced our hand. Complaints? He asked. From who? She glanced toward the neighboring lot, the empty one, with the overgrown shrubs and the faded property of LSPOA sign. We're not at liberty to disclose names. Privacy concerns? That lot's been vacant for 11 months, his daughter said. No one's filed a complaint from there. Eleanor's pause was barely a breath, but it was there. The point, she continued smoothly, is that the rule exists. And if we enforce it for one homeowner, we must enforce it for all. Consistency is fairness. Is it? His daughter asked. Or is fairness making sure the rules don't reach back and punish people for doing the right thing 20 years ago? Eleanor didn't answer. Instead, she turned and walked toward the barriers if the conversation were over. Go ahead, she called to the contractors. They moved. One unrolled a measuring tape along the existing fence line. The other opened a toolbox, pulled out a drill. He felt it then, not anger. Not yet. Something deeper. A quiet, rising certainty. This wasn't about rules. It was about power, and they just assumed he wouldn't push back. He looked at his daughter. She met his eyes. Gave the tiniest nod then, Without a word, he turned and walked toward the dock. The sun hadn't fully cleared the trees yet, but it was already warm, sticky warm, the kind that settles into your shirt by 8 o'clock. A light breeze rolled off the water, carrying the smell of pine, damp wood, and just a hint of algae blooming near the far bank. He sat on the edge of his dock, bare feet dangling just above the surface, a chipped ceramic mug warming his hands. Steam curled up in thin wisps, vanishing before it reached the railing. This was his favorite time. Just him, the lake, and the quiet. No emails, no committee meetings, no one asking him to sign anything or justify why he'd parked in that spot again. He'd built this dock himself, every plank. Every post, every rust-resistant bolt tightened with his own hands. Took 2 summers. First summer, he dug the footings in the shallow water, knee-deep in muck that smelled like old pennies and wet earth. Second summer, he assembled the frame, then sanded, stained, and sealed it all by himself, working early mornings and late evenings. So it wouldn't interfere with his part-time work at the community center. His back still twinged sometimes when the humidity rose, a quiet souvenir from those long days. He wasn't showy about it. It wasn't some grand floating deck with lights and a bar and a swim platform. Just a simple, sturdy L-shape 8 feet wide. 24 feet out over the water, with a small bench at the end where he liked to sit and watch the herons fish. It was old-fashioned, sure, but solid, honest, and it had been there serving him and his family for nearly 20 years. His granddaughter had taken her first wobbly steps on that dock. His wife used to sit in that same spot every evening, sketching the water line in her little notebook. After she passed, he came out here more often, not to think, not to grieve, just to be. The water didn't rush. It didn't judge. It just moved, slow and patient. Not time ought to. The house behind him was modest as single-story brick, with a wide porch and window boxes he kept full of geraniums, like she'd liked. Nothing flashy. But it sat right where the land met the lake, with a gentle slope down to the water's edge. That slope had been cleared years ago, just enough for a narrow path and a few stepping stones. Enough for peace. Enough for dignity. He finished his coffee black. One sugar ant set the mug down on the bench beside him. A pair of mallards paddled by, bobbing gently in the wake of a distant bass boat. He smiled, just a little. Then he heard the truck. Not unusual, really. Delivery folks came through the neighborhood, sometimes gardeners, pool guys, the occasional utility crew. But this one slowed too much near his driveway. Then stopped. He turned. A white utility van. Unmarked except for a small logo on the side, a stylized wave inside a shield, and the words Lakeview Shores Property Services. He recognized it. Not official county, not city, just... Them 2 men in khaki uniforms got out. Neither waved. Neither looked toward the house. They walked straight to the edge of his property line marked. By an old iron pin, he and his neighbor had reset together after. The '09 flood started unloading. Something from the back. He stood up at first. He thought maybe it was a mistake. Maybe they were supposed to be at the vacant lot next door, the one the HOA had seized last year over unpaid dues. That lot had no dock. Just weeds and a for sale sign bleached pale by the sun, but no. They kept walking. Right toward his dock. He stepped off the dock, onto the grass, and started down the path. "Morning," he called out, voice calm but firm. "Can I help you?" The taller one turned. Young guy, early 30s, clipboard in hand. Polite smile, but eyes didn't quite meet his. "Good morning, sir. We're with Lakeview Shores Maintenance. Just completing a scheduled enforcement action. Enforcement?" He stopped about 10 feet away. "What enforcement?" The man held up the clipboard. "You should have received a notice last week. Regarding non-compliant dock structure. Setback violation." He blinked. "A notice? I haven't gotten anything." "Certified mail, sir." "Delivered June 3rd. He frowned. He checked his mailbox every day had since he retired. Nothing official looking had come. Just the usual flyers. A coupon for gutter cleaning. A reminder about the community picnic. Even if I did, he said slowly. My dock's been here since '05. It was grandfathered in. The rules changed in 2020. I remember the meeting. They said existing structures were fine. The man didn't flinch. The Architectural Review Committee reviewed your file. Determined the dock doesn't meet current standards. 15-foot minimum setback from the lateral property line. Yours measures 7 feet 8 inches. He almost laughed. 7 feet 8 inches? You measured it. Laser scan. Done remotely last month. Shook his head. That scan must have been off. There's an old oak stump right on the line it throws off readings. I know where my line is. I helped survey it. Sir, the man said, tone shifting, still polite but firmer now. We're not here to debate boundaries. We're here to secure the violation until it's resolved. Secure? He glanced at the second man, who was unfolding something long and metallic. A chain link panel. His stomach tightened. What, you're not putting that up, are you? We're installing a temporary barrier. Prevents unauthorized use pending compliance. Unauthorized use? His voice rose, just a notch. It's my dock. On my property, according to LSPOA governing documents, all shoreline improvements fall under association jurisdiction, especially when they impact shared aesthetics or safety. That dock's passed 3 county inspections. Had the fire department use it during the Johnson's boat fire back in '18? The man just nodded. It's like he'd heard it all before. I'm sorry, sir. We're just following instructions. And then they started. No more talking. Just the clank scrape of metal posts being driven into the ground with a handheld post pounder, right at the foot of his dock, where the wooden steps met the grass. They worked fast, efficiently like they'd done this before. He'd later learned they had. Twice on Elm Lane, once over on Cypress, he stood there, hands in his pockets, watching, not yelling, not moving to stop them, just watching, like you'd watch a slow-motion train wreck. Knowing there's nothing you can do in the moment, but every part of you knows it's wrong, the first panel went up. Then the second. A third connected them, forming a 5-foot-tall barrier with a simple latch no lock yet, but clearly meant to keep people out. One of the men stepped back, wiped his forehead. All set. You'll receive documentation by mail within 48 hours outlining next steps. He didn't answer, just stared at the chain link. It looked so out of place. Ugly, industrial, like something you'd see around a construction site or a vacant lot not beside a weathered cedar dock. A potted fern and a faded life preserver hanging on a hook. The men packed up, drove off. Silence rushed back in, but it felt different now. Heavy, broken. He walked up to the barrier. Lightly touched one of the posts. Cold, solid, not going anywhere. Then he turned, went inside. He poured himself a glass of water, hands steady. Sat at the kitchen table. Pulled out the folder he kept in the bottom drawer, the one labeled House Deed and Docs, yellowed accordion file. Tabs worn soft at the edges. He found it quickly. The original warranty deed. Dated October 12th, 1998. Page 7. Paragraph 4. Grantee retains perpetual, non-exclusive easement for dock and shoreline access, subject to applicable state and county regulations as of date of transfer. No retroactive covenant shall impair this right. He ran his finger under the line. Perpetual. No retroactive. Covenant. Then the 2005 permit from the County Environmental Office. Signed. Stamped. Approved. With a hand-drawn sketch of the dock location, showing the exact same position, and a note in the margin structure complies with 2004 Shoreline Ordinance. Grandfathered under Sec. 4.2. He flipped to the HOA zone, 2020. Rule amendment packet, the one they'd mailed to every homeowner. He remembered reading it. It did raise the setback from 5 feet to 15. But Section 9. Bolded, all structures legally erected and in compliance with regulations in effect at time of construction shall be deemed lawful non-conforming uses and shall not be subject to removal or modification absent proven safety hazard. No safety hazard. No county order. No court ruling, just He put the folder down, stood up, walked back outside. The sun was higher now, bright, glaring off the lake. Kids were laughing somewhere down the shore, probably at the community beach. A lawnmower buzzed in the distance. He stood in front of the barrier again. It wasn't just about the dock. It was about showing up one morning to find a piece of your life, something you built with your own hands, something that held memories, something that gave you quiet joy, suddenly cordoned off like it was dangerous, like you were the problem. He thought about calling his neighbor, the retired judge on the next lot over, or maybe the guy who ran the marina, who knew every inch of shoreline code. But something stopped him. Not fear, not resignation, just exhaustion, the kind that comes when you've played by the rules your whole life, paid your dues on time, attended the meetings, trimmed your hedges, kept your boat trailer out of Saitan. Then, without warning, the rules change under your feet, and no one even asks. He went back inside, made a fresh pot of coffee, same mug, same sugar, carried it out to the porch this time, sat in the old Adirondack chair, watched the water. A blue heron landed near the end of his dock, stood perfectly still, waiting. He sipped his coffee. Let them come, he thought. But not today. Today he'd just sit and remember why this place mattered. Later, around noon, his daughter called.